Zulfiqar Khan. Because our guest today is a young and dynamic voice from Balochistan. He is someone who is trying to rewrite the story of Balochistan. He is on a mission to change the narrative that is perceived in the media vis-a-vis Balochistan. He is trying to steer the conversation towards youth empowerment, economic stability, and political integration. We have with us a guest who's also holding the distinction of being the youngest member of the National Assembly of Pakistan. With me today is Mr. Jamal Raisani. Jamal, pleasure having you here with us, and thank you for making time.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is always mine. Okay.
Jamal, let me begin by saying that, whenever your name comes up, of course, the first and foremost distinction is that you're the youngest MNA. And then, of course, your father, there's a legacy there. You're his son. And with footballer, as we can
Yes.
as we can see from decor here.
true.
But in your words, who is Jamal? Who is Jamal Raisani?
I think Jamal is basically, for me, I'm a student who believes in the theory of 20 to 80, which is basically understanding, reading, for example. I apply the theory of 2080 in everything, in politics, in social life, in economics, for example, in fitness. For example, let me give you a small example that 20% I do gym training and 80% is
Weight
diet. Diet.
Okay.
For politics, 20% you read and 80% you have to understand.
When we talk about Balochistan, of course, there's a lot of disconnect between Balochistan and the center. In your opinion, in what you've seen, I believe your thesis was also on the conflict situation in Balochistan, and you've analyzed and researched on this as well. So in your opinion, what is the disconnect? Would you say that it's the old guard? Would you say it's the army? What do you think is the disconnect? What's the problem?
Some people, they say that Balochistan is doing all fine.
It's a rosy picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Similarly, when we talk about politics, some policies our government has brought, they need to be appreciated. They need to be, projected to the local masses, while they are not being done, because there's a huge, I would say, bottleneck of the old guards. They try to sabotage everything. They try to spread propaganda in every single thing. And once it is linked with establishment or the state, it becomes very confused. And the youth, you would say that they want to believe, but due to our past practices, they cannot believe.
So, if I may be very open about it, at the moment I think what you're referring to is the reconciliation process, where a lot of people, because those youngsters, the youth that have taken up arms against the state and have, as they say, gone to the mountains for reconciliation, there's a lot of trust deficit between the army and between the youth, and because, like you said, the old guard has ingrained things in their minds.
Exactly.
That
They
is
send
very
them
hard
deliberately, intentionally.
Yeah.
And reconciliation, people, they don't understand the phrase reconciliation or the concept of reconciliation. It is not just an event that you come and we reconcile and it's done.
We shake
it's
hands
a
and
long
that's it.
process.
Yeah.
And it escalates. It comes to a climax where it can be hurting.
Yeah.
And then either it can de-escalate or it can escalate more. So I believe that in order to achieve reconciliation, we need to speak the truth. I use the word the truth and reconciliation in my thesis, which is the state needs to say what mistakes they've done. The politicians need to make sure that, because as you said, we are the people who've sent these youngsters to mountains. We showed them the path of mountains. And bureaucracy is involved, media is also involved. So we need to find a short-term, a mid-term and a long-term process.
It's not going to happen overnight.
It won't happen overnight or even in 5 years. Short-term should be crisis management, how we handle the crisis rapidly, how we address the crisis. For example, the law and order situation that is happening in Balochistan. How would we go after the terrorists? Secondly, the relationship management. I told you that we need to work on the relationship between the actors. Who are the actors? The state, the media, the politicians, the youngsters, the audience, everybody. It has to be positive. We need to manage the relationship. We need to gain their trust. And lastly, the long-term process is we need to dig out the toxic foundation we have laid before. Our old guards have laid a toxic foundation. They have seeded hatred in our youngsters. We need to dig that out. We need to pave a new foundation which is built on harmony and negative peace.
When we talk about lack of development, do you think it is also done by the old guard by design? Because in order to implement their own hegemonic designs, you know, if today you're a Sardar and I'm a nobody and I get educated and I go in the civil service and I'm there, you just might be reporting to me.
Exactly.
You know, you might just be, you might feel threatened by me. So do you think that's also being done by design?
The first part I would beg to differ, because I believe that nothing justifies violence, be it underdevelopment, lack of institutions.
I'm saying it plays a role of a catalyst.
I'm coming to that. Whatever is being done in Balochistan is basically terrorism. Because if you look at Balochistan in '88 and the Balochistan of today, it is more developed. Then instead, why is it that the violence is increasing day by day, rather decreasing? Yes, I do agree with you that the lack of institutions, the lack of education, lack of health institutions, the lack of meritocracy, good governance does complement and justify the separatist or terrorism elements.
That's exploited by these elements.
Exactly. They are trying to use these cultural and structural violence in order to justify their own direct violence.
Sure.
The second part, I do agree with you that there are some certain people, I don't want to name anybody because all fingers are not equal, but they do not want people of their own tribe to be at the equal and equitable status quo as themselves, because they feel challenged. They don't want people of their tribe to be educated because they would challenge their decisions. But on the other hand, there are some people who belong to the tribal framework. They have sent their children abroad. For example, just a small, my sister, she studied in the same school as the tribeswomen of our tribe, and they went to the same school. They studied in the same university, the colleges and well. We do want to have education. It is not, but then again, there is this problem of tribal framework that is a huge obstacle towards democracy and towards the development. One thing I would like to point out is that people who are elected are either tribals or they have a good background. The MPAs, the MNAs, and they do get a development fund every year. So where is that fund going?
That was my next question. I was going to ask you that.
Exactly. Where is it?
Where is it going?
We need to be transparent. We need to know, because these are not our money. It is the people's money. It is for development.
And the budget lapses every year, especially vis-a-vis health and education.
Exactly.
Just a couple of months back, I think 2 months back, there was a statement by the health secretary. There was a report that 80% of the population of Balochistan does not have access to, does not have medical access.
Exactly.
Which is an alarming figure.
Yes.
And likewise, the entire country is miserably failing in terms of education, but your province is taking the lead.
It's 44%. And we do have ghost schools, even though we are trying to run.
And ghost teachers.
Yeah, exactly, ghost teachers. And who has done it? We have done it, right? In the past, bureaucracy, the politicians, everybody was involved. So we need to.
But where does that money go?
And that is the question.
In their pockets?
Exactly. You would see that people who had nothing before becoming an MPA, now they own billions of dollars of houses,
and that too, not just here, not here,
abroad as well. So we need to be more transparent.
But let me ask you this. I mean, this is all really what you're saying. I don't think anyone can disagree with it. But who's going to bell the cat? Who's going to bring this accountability? Who's going to question those people? Just one Jamal Raisani cannot do it. And I think, again, you're a youngster. You're way down in that proverbial food chain and in influence as compared to the old guard. They don't want to let go. How are you going to do it?
I think we do have certain tools. The first tool is calling it out. In Balochistan, we used to have this atmosphere of fear because of the tribal system, that nobody used to call out the MPAs because
their own kin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right now, because we do have more of a civic sense, I would say a political sense, now we do call out. For example, if an MPA is doing nothing, we have a tool of social media. Everybody is, using social media nowadays, TikTok nowadays and everything. And the second is that.
But why not choke him of his funding?
You see, this is the thing that I would rather, have a one party government than a coalition government. Because in coalition government, things are very different.
You have to make sacrifices and compromises.
You have to make compromises. You have to keep everybody happy. But I would then again I would come back to my sentence completing that we need to own the system as youngsters. We should be the part of system. Be it a politician, doctor, bureaucrat, we need to be in the system and try to change the system. If we are staying away from the system, and that is what the enemy wants.
Yeah.
That is what people who are corrupt, they want. They don't want the Gen Zs or the youngsters to be part of the system. So we must be part of the system, be it politically, economically, or socially.
Not every youngster has your privilege. It's very difficult in Balochistan.
It is very difficult. It is very difficult. But then again, I don't want to give the cockroach Janta Party's example.
Yeah,
but it is a huge example of a social media. What social media can do.
Revolution.
Revolution. Because
we have Nepal. We have Bangladesh.
We have Bangladesh.
Yeah.
But then again, we need to be very positive. We need to own the stance, not just be used by whomsoever
external
wants to
elements,
use us. Exactly. So we need to be politically astute, and I believe things will get better. But things will get better when we see the solution in the problems. Everybody knows the problem of Balochistan: law and order, corruption, this and that, vice versa. But nobody wants to focus on the solution. The day we start focusing on the solution, I think things will get better.
Lastly, because I have to conclude this program, though there's a lot to talk to you about, but your tenure as your MNA-ship for this tenure, it's halfway over.
Yes.
In the next 2.5 years, what do you intend on achieving for your constituency?
For me, I believe that development is a part of serving the people, but it is not the major function of a MNA or MPA to make roads or make sewerage lines and everything. But yes, we need to have certain laws for youngsters that make sure to protect and empower these youngsters. I've in the past 2 years, I've not spent a single penny on roads, not on sewerage lines, but I've spent on training. Training of what? Training of the youth, civically, economically and socially. We want to achieve the market demand, the international market demand. It is a fact that we cannot give employment as a government to everybody, but we can train them. Nowadays,
skilled labor.
Skill is more important than a degree.
It is
a fact. It's a bitter fact. So we want to prepare them for the market. And it starts from training. It starts from giving time to them. It starts from listening to them. And that is what I've been doing 2 years. And the next 2 years, I've talked with certain, but we are signing in some certain MOUs with international companies which would allow us to import our youth for skilled labor. And I believe this is something that will calm the aggression, because everything happens. It doesn't just happen in Balochistan, but it spreads like ink everywhere. And in the next 2 years, this is it. Just focus on youth, focus on how they think, try to tell them the truth. Because propaganda, I always say that lie and propaganda, they have an expiry date. But truth.
But they can also go really far, which we've seen.
Exactly, they spread like fire.
Yeah, perception is stronger than reality.
Exactly. So we need to work on this. And in the next 2 years, I make sure that half or even quarter of my constituency, they are working abroad and sending money to the families, because we do have a unemployment,
very high
high employment rate,
yeah.
and that is one of the factors that is contributing to terrorism.
Well,
so these are the things that I'm trying to focus on.
Well, on that positive note, thank you very much, Jamal, for making time, and we wish you all the best. And like I said, we would also request you to take us with you in your constituency, and we would like to see how you interact, again, to bust the myth and the reality,
Yes,
just to see how things happen. On that note, we'll close today's program. Thank you for watching.